Hello and welcome to Soul Session Saturday. I'm Catherine Massell. I'm an intuitive energy healer, a spiritual growth catalyst, and ascending earth creatrix. And normally I write Soul Session Saturdays. Soul Session Saturdays are a day where I choose to tune in very deeply to my guides, teachers, whoever on my spiritual team wants to come through and give me messages from the other side, from the ascended realms. And I normally write this as a post and send it out to my email list, and I put it on social media. And I've had a really beautiful, positive response to it. And I thought, hey, I'm a fan of change. Why not come and do this as a video instead of writing a post and change things up a little bit and see what comes through. And the nature, when I talk about these things, especially what I'm talking about today, which is the nature of collapsing timelines, because that seems to be something that a lot of people are being presented with right now, in not only on an individual level, but on a collective level as well. So I wanted to create a sacred space where I could talk to you about this and also allow any guidance to come in as I'm talking to you. Because it's not just my thoughts on this, it's me being a filter or a divine transmitter, a vessel, if you will, to allow any other guidance to come in as I'm talking about this, which happens to me when I'm doing the writing process of Soul Session Saturday as well. So the nature of collapsing timelines. Right now we're really in an interesting time in our human and spiritual evolution. We are witnessing this upwelling of so much of what seems like very low frequency, very negative energy. There are tumultuous events happening in politics, socially, culturally, environmentally. We feel this upheaval in many, many different ways, and we're seeing it. We're seeing it, we're feeling it, we're living it. And so what's happening as we're moving out of third dimensional fear-based awareness and moving into the ascension timeline of fifth dimensional awareness, which is moving away from fear-based consciousness and moving into heart-based consciousness, what we are witnessing is a lot of collapsing of timelines that are resonating in 3D, this fear-based, ego-based awareness and consciousness, having their last gasp of energy, if you will. When a timeline collapses, there is an energy that can no longer, that means there's an energy that no longer can sustain it. When a timeline is active, when it is open, when it is stretched, that means it's being given so much attention and focus and awareness. When that timeline stops having energy merge into it or merge with it, when it stops getting attention or focus or awareness, that timeline can no longer exist. Timelines can't exist without any energy. So with these very tumultuous events that are happening, it feels very catastrophic. It feels like things are falling apart. It feels like chaos. It feels like, we're going through this period of trauma and shock. And we are. But much of it, and some of you aren't going to like this, much of it is an illusion. And it's simply because we are turning our heads in the direction of those timelines that are holding the fear, holding the negativity, holding the pain, holding the strife, the grief, the loss, the chaos, the fear and anxiety. We keep turning our attention and leaning into those timelines and giving these timelines based in negativity and low frequency our attention and awareness, keeping them alive. When we choose to focus, because as human beings with free will on this planet in this time, we have the choice always to exercise our free will. We have the choice to take our perception over here and lean into the timelines of fear, or we are presented with the choice of being able to lean into the heart. And specifically the higher heart, which is what we're being called to resonate with as we are moving on this ascension timeline into fifth dimensional awareness. The more we lead from the heart, the more that we color our view of the world through the lens of the heart, specifically the higher heart, which is the highest vibration we can hold in our physical bodies at this time. We are moving away from these timelines, allowing them to collapse because we're no longer giving them the attention that they need. These timelines have, everything has its own consciousness, including a timeline has its own consciousness. Without our energy, without our attention, without our focus on it, it cannot exist. It's fighting for our attention. So all of these things that are happening in the world right now that are causing what seems like accelerated, magnified, amplified levels of fear, anxiety, panic, suffering, all of that. It's simply, hey, over here, look at me, give your attention to me, keep me alive. It's this last gasp of awareness that wants to keep us rooted in that ego-based, that fear-based consciousness of 3D reality. In truth, everything that's happening right now, and it's hard to see unless we choose to lean into 5D awareness instead of 3D. It's hard to see. But everything that's happening right now is leading us on this path to ascension, of moving into fifth dimensional awareness. We are being called, invited, we are being petitioned by the universe to lean into the heart, to move into higher vibration energy. Energy that resonates with mercy, compassion, forgiveness, unconditional love and acceptance. We are being divinely led into fifth dimensional awareness simply by the universe asking us to say, hey, instead of looking over here, why don't you look over here? Why don't you lean into the heart? Lean into compassion. Lean into openness. Lean into kindness. Lean into loving, unconditional acceptance. Now, what I'm advocating here, or what I'm talking about here, and certainly the guidance that I'm receiving here, is not about having some Pollyanna view of life, where you don't look at the negativity and you're just like, la, 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 it doesn't exist. We very much need to acknowledge the shadow. And not only acknowledge the shadow, but open up to it, to see what lessons are there for us, so that we can move into a greater awareness in fifth dimensional consciousness. The more we lean into shadow, yes, specifically leaning into shadow to find out what lessons are there for us to learn so that we can expand spiritually. But in order for us to do that, it's simply taking notice, acknowledging it, and saying, okay, this is something I need to work on. Great, let's work on this. And then I can move into this further state of my awareness, into this expanded threshold of my awareness and spiritual understanding of the way things really are. The more we do that, the more we pierce the veil of shadow and look and see what's in there and learn the lessons. When we're ready to say, yes, I'm ready to learn these lessons now. Universe, you can stop sending me these lessons over and over again. I'm willing to look at my stuff. I'm ready to deal with it. That's one thing. But when we choose to actually just mire in these low frequency energies, watching the news over and over, commiserating with other people about the misery in the world and how awful things are, how awful the politics are in whatever country we live in, how awful the social climate is, how terrible the environment is. When we commiserate and we stay in this timeline of fear, unwilling to see in our myopia that there's another timeline that exists that we could easily merge into, we are keeping those timelines of 3D awareness, which are based in fear, alive. There is a nuance here. It takes a little bit of finessing to figure all this out. But I can tell you this, the more that we put everything in the world in the perspective of the heart, if we bring everything back to the heart, and specifically the higher heart, we see the world through a completely different lens. And I'm not talking about looking at the world through rose-colored glasses, again, that Pollyanna thing playing out. It's not about that. It's about knowing that as a human being, well, you're an infinite being having a human experience, but knowing that part of your human experience is exercising free will. That means you have a choice. You can put your perspective in fear and allow yourself to mire and marinate in the energy of fear, or you can choose the lens of the heart. You can choose to filter everything in your experience through the higher heart. One of the things that I am sharing with people now is this higher heart vibration. And I have a couple different ways that I'm offering that now in courses that I'm teaching. But basically, it's understanding that the higher heart is this, if you could imagine it as a physical place in the body, it is just below the base of the throat and just above the heart chakra. And I see it as a triangle of energy. And this is like a divine portal for us to receive some of the highest vibrations that exist in the cosmos. And we are actually calibrated to pull in that energy and to accept it fully into our body. But as with anything else, it is a choice to do so. We can very much ask to receive the vibration of the higher heart through nothing more than our intention. Yes, I have a process that I can walk you through and teach you how to do it. But when I do that, I'm not teaching you anything you don't already know how to do. This is a skill that's innate to you. Your divine connection, whether you call it connecting to your higher self, whether you call it connecting to the ascended realms, whether you call it connecting to your spiritual team that works with you on the other side, it doesn't matter because it's all part of the same energy. But it is all part of a very, very high vibration that we have access to right here, right now on this plane. When we go into the higher heart vibration, we actually allow ourselves to merge with all of the timelines that are aligned with the ascension pathways. And that means moving into fifth dimensional awareness, where we resonate with higher frequencies of love, forgiveness, mercy, compassion, unconditional love, and acceptance. It's a beautiful place to be. It's a beautiful place to vibrate. And here's the other thing. The more we move into the higher heart, the more we ensure that those timelines of fear collapse. So if you're doing this on an individual level, think of how powerful that is, not only for you in your own life, but how that resonates outward, how that ripples outward to everyone who is in your general vicinity. If you start showing your family, your friends, your coworkers, the animals in your life, your pets, unconditional love and acceptance, mercy, compassion, forgiveness, all of those things that vibrate with the higher heart vibration or resonance, you create this ripple effect. People will feel that. People will be aware of this consciousness and want what you're having. They will want to be doing what you're doing. It's infectious in a good way. So if that expands out into the collective, think how many more timelines can be collapsed. It all starts on an individual level. Whenever we want to do anything that becomes like a movement that creates momentum, it always starts with the individual. So how can you start this in your own life? How can you take on the energy of the higher heart vibration, put everything in your life, all of your experiences through the filter of the heart, and then begin to collapse the timelines of fear in your own life? The other thing that is really important to take notice of right now is that we may have personal trauma or chaos that seems like we're experiencing a reemergence of it in our lives. We may feel like issues that we have worked on in the past or challenges that have been brought into the light for us. We thought maybe we have dealt with that, and it may seem now like there are other layers of that emerging, coming to the surface, bubbling up. While that may be true, there's also something really interesting that occurs here as timelines are collapsing. I'm talking about your own timelines of fear that exist in your own life. patterns of fear, behaviors of fear that are starting to crop up, or it feels like they're re-emerging. These may also just be echoes of energy past. It may mean that there's no more work to do for you. So it's important to tune into your intuition and see really if these fears are cropping up, old panic, worry, or anxiety are cropping up in your life again. Go into the heart vibration again and ask yourself, is there something I still need to work on here? Or is this just the last gasp of this timeline of fear, of this timeline of this period in my life where I was this other person that was mired in my own fear and worry and anxiety and grief or loss? Is there something I still need to work on here? Or is it just an echo? And when you are tuned into the higher heart vibration, you will be able to know the difference. You can always work with someone who, if you feel like you are not the best judge or you can't discern really between the two, the answer is that you can. You can definitely discern the two. But if you don't trust your own judgment on this, you can always work with someone who does energy healing or does work in the Akashic Records or something like that to find out if there's still stuff you need to work on here, if you still got very active timelines that do need to be collapsed fully and completely by doing some more spiritual work on yourself. Find out what that is. Do yourself that favor and show yourself that self-love and being able to do that, because the more you practice or allow yourself some sort of self-care, self-love, anytime you show yourself that level of self-respect like that, where you want to take care of your stuff, you are also moving into fifth dimensional awareness. Because we have no other way to experience love in all forms unless it exists on a level of self-love first, right? So there's a lot to think about here. And the idea of timelines can be very perplexing to a lot of people. I am still trying to figure out the nature of timelines, but what I'm understanding more and more is that you have two different ways of being able to deal with timelines. You can jump into them. When you are more adept at knowing the difference between 3D awareness and 5D awareness, and you can shift your vibration accordingly, it's very easy to jump timelines. You don't want to jump into those ones that are aligned with fear, but you can. There are several different timelines that are associated with different vibrations that are of higher vibrations that you could easily jump into. You can jump into the timeline of your abundance and prosperity very easily when you are able to discern between 3D and 5D awareness, for instance. But what's happening right now is we're still very much anchored in 3D, and 3D is really trying to pull us down through these active timelines of fear, chaos, and anxiety. We are merging into these timelines more. It feels more gentle. It feels more like stepping in with one foot and then moving in with your body and stepping in with the other. And as we are being called to look at these timelines of fear because of all the negativity that's happening in the world or even in our own lives, the second we turn our attention and lean into it, we start to merge into that timeline. So try to be aware of how that's happening. Try to pay attention and be aware in your body, because you can feel it in your body when you're merging into a timeline of fear. You absolutely can. This is a call and a petition for you to be much more aware of your own physical body. This is the vessel for our experience here in this lifetime here on planet Earth. The more we honor this vessel, the more we listen to it, the more we pay attention to the very strong signals that come from it. It's just that maybe we're not used to listening to it, but our body is always giving us information. Our body is always giving us wisdom. But we have to be adept enough to be able to tune into it and listen to what's going on, listen to what it's telling us. You can be very aware of when you're merging into that timeline of fear. You will know. So start to tune into that. Pay attention. See what your body is telling you. Feel into your body. Allow more time to work with your guides, your spiritual teachers, your spiritual team that works with you on the other side, and ask them to help you know how to move into the higher heart vibration in all areas of your life. You already know how to do this. This is something that's already innate. But if you need help kind of redirecting your energy there, as those timelines of fear are constantly like snapping you to attention and saying, hey, look over here, you may need more help. kind of redirecting and going into the higher heart vibration. Ask your guides, ask your teachers, your spiritual team on the other side to help you with that. Because that will ensure that not only on an individual level, but on a collective level as well, that we are all going to be moving more into fifth dimensional awareness and doing it with a lot more ease and grace and information and wisdom and knowledge about the difference between these timelines. So I hope this was helpful to you. If you would like to receive these Soul Session Saturday messages, maybe sometimes there'll be videos, maybe sometimes it'll be a written post, but you can go to my website, catherinemissel.com, and on the pop-up box, it will ask you if you want to sign up for the weekly channeled Soul Session messages. Please do sign up if you feel called to do so. I want to wish you so much love and light. Bye-bye.